Salute Booktube, welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. This is the second tag of this Tag Tuesday that I'm doing. Regulars of my channel will know I was a bit busy this past month, so I'm trying to catch up on the tag videos that I've been tagged in. So today you get a special bonus, 2 tag videos. I can just feel you guys jumping with excitement. Anyway, the tag that I want to do this time is called let me just pull it out here. It's called the 1 to 10 TBR Challenge tag. This tag was originally created by Ian the Reader, and I was tagged by JJ, the Blacksmith Bookworm. Thank you, JJ, for tagging me. This tag, the 1 to 10 challenge, it's quite simple, really. It says your TBR for 2026 of 10 books, each one increasing in page count by 100 pages. So it starts from 100 to 100. You have to show a book you plan to read in 2026 from 100 to 199 pages, 200 to 299 pages, 300 to 399 pages, etc., etc. All the way up to 1000 to 1099 pages. That's basically what the tag is. So again, thank you, JJ, for tagging me. I know she tagged me a while ago. She actually tagged me just a day before I became really busy with a personal project, and that didn't allow me to do the tag at the time I wanted to, which was around early January. This is where you list a lot of the books that you plan to read for the year. So it was probably more appropriate for earlier in the year, but better late than never. And I've tried to select books that I haven't discussed already in my previous TBR reading 2026 reading plans. But that being said, just 3 caveats before I actually start with the tag. The first one is related to what I just said. I've sort of planned my 2026 reading plans in general. There's always space to add things, but 3 major booktube events. The first one, or one, is a major booktube event. 2 are personal reading goals that I have for 2026. The first one is Historathon 2026. And most of you know what Historathon is. It's a year-long reading challenge where you are encouraged to read nonfiction history, and the year is divided into quarters, and each quarter is an era of history where you're encouraged to read on that era of history. Quarter 1, for example, is from prehistory, the beginning of time, till the year 500 AD or CE. Quarter 2 is 500 to 1500. Quarter 3 is 1500 to 1820. And then quarter 4 is 1820 to the present. Related to that is my personal reading challenge, which is the 250th anniversary of America, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So I'm planning to read a lot of American history in 2026, but I want to combine it with Historathon. And that means for America, at least the European discovery of America, that really doesn't start till the second half, 1500 moving forward. The third reading event is Russian Lit 2026, which again, a personal challenge where I'm trying to read as much Russian literature in 2026 as I can. So I've mentioned a lot of that previously, but I'm hoping that the books I mention here are things I haven't mentioned before as much as possible. That being said, there might be a bit of repetition, and I'm not sure this is exactly what I want to read, but I'm trying to fit the prompts of the tag, so keep that in mind. The other thing I wanted to mention was that when I originally saw this tag, I thought it was pick any book. Pick any book. So I originally created a stack. I prepared for quite a while, just choosing books, random books that fit the prompts: 100 to 199 pages, 200 to 299, etc., etc. Then I read the tag again. It said, no, it's a TBR for 2026. So it's limited to what you plan to read in 2026 following the page count prompts. So I was going to do this, and then I went back and I decided, no, let's follow the actual rules of the tag and not make them up as you go along or do what you prefer. Um, what other caveats did I want to say? One thing to keep in mind, different editions of different books, you might have a small paperback that'll have more pages. If you got a large hardback of the same book, it'll be less pages. You have to keep that in mind. And then finally, before I get to the books, what I did want to say, what did I want to say? Um, yes, I personally read a lot of nonfiction. I've tried to put a bit of fiction in here, but it's mostly nonfiction again. And as anybody who reads nonfiction knows, nonfiction books have a lot of endnotes, they have a lot of appendices, they have a lot of indexes, etc. But I'm not counting those. I'm counting the page count when the page, when the the writing is over. None of the notes, none of the append, those don't count. Um, Introductions as well. So with that, we can start with the books. That last rule I made, I'm making one exception, and that's the first book, because the first book is a book that's 100 pages to 199 pages. And for that, I'm actually currently reading, and I've mentioned this one before, this Seamus Heaney's Beowulf. This one actually, if the actual text closes in at, right there, it ends at, I don't know if you can see that, 99 pages, 99, one short. So for this, there is a family tree that's kind of an appendix that takes it up to 101 pages. There's an introduction because this is Seamus Heaney's translation of the Old Anglo-Saxon. This original poem, epic poem, was written in Old English. Seamus Heaney translates it into modern English. And for this one, I make an exception because if you include the introduction, it does go to above 100 pages. And the introduction here is important because he explains his methodology for translation, his Northern Irish roots, Old Irish words or English linked to Old Irish words, which are linked to Old English words, which are linked to Anglo-Saxon. So I made one exception, and that's this one. I'm buddy reading this with my friend Angelina and her channel Books Do Things to Me. We're pretty much in the middle of it. I hope to end this to finish it, but it's quite riveting. I've read this before when I was much younger, but never saw its significance. But now reading it as an adult, I'm seeing what all the fuss is about. Yeah, a classic. I don't know what else to say about it other than that. The next one is a book from 200 to 299 pages. For this prompt, I mentioned I'm reading for America's 250th anniversary. There's going to be a lot of American history here because, again, I could have picked random books, but then when I read the prompt, it's your TBR, and I want to do a lot of American history reading to clear my American history shelves, but also in honor of the 250th anniversary of America. That being said, it's not just the 250th anniversary of America, it's also the 25th anniversary of this. Which book shall I? Because I've got a couple of books on it. It's the 25th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. That happened in 2001. It's 2026. September 11th, 2026 will be the 25th anniversary. I've got two books that are within between 200 and 300 pages. One of them is this one. It's by Jim Dwyer and Kevin Flynn. It's called 102 Minutes. The definitive account of the fight to survive inside the Twin Towers. Again, I don't think I need to explain what September 11th is, although what is surprising is there's a lot of young people who don't remember what September 11th is. If you ask anybody who's 25 or under, they don't remember. If you ask anybody who's 30, they don't remember. maybe a 35-year-old would remember when they were a kid that they saw this in the news, but I was about, I'm going to age myself now, but it's not a secret. I was about 15, 16 when this occurred. So um, at the time, I didn't know its significance, but it would play a big part in my life, indirectly, but still. The other book, I have a second book. It's also within the range. It's 200 and something pages. This is by Fred Halliday, 2 Hours That Shook the World. The subtitle is September 11th, 2001: Causes and Consequences. Um, Again, another book about September 11th. I do have a third book. These I'd like to read for the 25th anniversary, but this one is at 500 pages. I just thought I'd show it. It's The 11th Day, the definitive account of 9/11. This is by Anthony Summers and Robin Swan, and a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize 2012. So I'm hoping to read these. I've also got the 9/11 Commission report. If I could read these in 2026, I would. I'd be very happy to accomplish that goal. Um, the next one is a book you hope to read in 2026. That's 300 to 399 pages. This is related to Historathon. Again, second quarter or second half of Historathon, quarters 3 and 4, will be devoted to American history, because really American history begins after 1500. If we discount the native history, pre-European contact native history, which is, again, a challenging subject because we don't have a lot of written sources. But for the first 2 quarters, I'm pretty much have leeway to read what I want. So for quarter 1, prehistory to 500 AD, I've been reading a lot about Carthage and the Phoenicians, and I'm planning to read this in February, this month. I hope to complete it. It's Richard Miles's Carthage Must Be Destroyed. Again, I've shown this before. The subtitle is The Rise and Fall of an Ancient Civilization. And as anybody knows, again, my audience is very well informed, Carthage was the other great Mediterranean power that existed with Rome on the Mediterranean. But as Rome was growing and as Carthage was consolidating, they would eventually clash. I'm not spoiling anything when I say the Romans were eventually victorious and would control the entire Mediterranean, Mare Nostrum, our sea. It would become a Roman lake. That's after they defeated the Carthaginians. I'm not a big expert on Carthage. I would refer you to Justin's channel, Triumphal Read. If I remember, I'll link him in the show, in the description below. If you are interested in Carthage, he reads a lot more on Hannibal and Carthage. I'm sure Hannibal will be all over this place, but yeah, that was my choice for the, what was it? Now, this is what I was worried about, losing count. 300 to 399 pages. For 400 to 499, we go to American history. This is an obscure, for me, an obscure part of American history. There's a lot about the Civil War. There's millions and millions of books on the Civil War. This book is what happens immediately after the Civil War. So the subject intrigues me. I know very little about it. It's by Brenda Wineapple, and it's called The Impeachers. The subtitle is The Trial of Andrew Johnson and the Dream of a Just Nation. And there is President Andrew Johnson, who has a terrible reputation in American history, and probably rightly so. He was the vice president. He was Lincoln's vice president. Of course, Lincoln was assassinated, and so he assumed the presidency. And he pretty much outdid the promise of Lincoln. The emancipation of the slaves went ahead, but Andrew Johnson was a compromise candidate for Abraham Lincoln. He was if I'm not mistaken, he was a Southerner, and he was there to balance the ticket. Nobody thought that Abraham Lincoln would be killed, assassinated, but he was. And so Andrew Johnson, a kind of Southern, if I'm not mistaken, I could be completely wrong, but I think if he wasn't a Southerner, he was at least a Southern apologist, a Southern sympathizer, and he basically um, pardoned a lot of Southern crime, war crimes, as well as there was a promise that the emancipated slaves, the African Americans, would be well, they would be made free. They would be what's the emancipated, but then they would be integrated into American society. Andrew Johnson killed a lot of that. Yes, the slavery was abolished and the blacks were free, but they were denied civil rights, and there was the whole segregated South that all began with this figure, Andrew Johnson. So again, I don't know much about the subject, but again, hoping to read this for my America 250th anniversary of America reading challenge. So hopefully I'll get to it. Next, we're at, I just have to look at the end of the book to know which number we're at, 500. This is 500 to 599. This is, again, American history. This is much more modern, late or middle to late 20th century American biography. This is a biography. It's by Rick Perlstein, and it's called Before the Storm. That's the cover there. That person over there is Barry Goldwater. And that's the subtitle: Barry Goldwater and the Unmaking of the American Consensus. So you can see him with his cowboy hat and his rifle. Barry Goldwater. I've been reading a lot of American sort of intellectual history. I've started my American history reading. I'm not reading histories. I'm reading more like political, social, economic books about America, but the subtitle, The Unmaking of the American Consensus, I think I know what that means. There was like a consensus. Basically, we can blame this guy for reintroducing toxic bipartisan bickering in Washington. There was a consensus in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, the 50s and the 60s. There was a consensus between the Republicans and Democrats, the right and the left. There was bipartisan cooperation. This guy, Barry Goldwater, comes on the stage and he just makes an argument for the far right. He's the first conservative right-wing political figure to make or to I'm explaining this poorly, to gain national notoriety, and he ran for the presidency in 1964. He was overwhelmingly defeated by LBJ and the Democrats, but his legacy lived on in things like Ronald Reagan, the neoconservatives, Bush Jr., Bush Sr., I guess to an extent Trump, but yeah, Barry Goldwater is the smart and lively the story of Goldwater campaign and the rise of the conservative movement in the liberal 1960s. So I believe he's from Arizona. It's a big book again. It's 500 between 500 and 600 pages. So that's my choice. And again, probably I hope to read it towards the end of the year. Again, coordinating with Historathon. Next, we're going up to 600 to 699 pages. Oh, I just showed the book. I ruined the surprise. It's Thomas Asperger's The Crusades. Again, because American history doesn't really start until after 1500, I have a little leeway in the first half of 2026. So I'm pretty certain that in Q2 Historathon, I'll be reading about the Crusades. I've shown this book before. I recently hauled it. I've recently purchased this. The Crusades occurred in the 11th and 12th centuries. It was the Christian invasion, pretty much, of the Holy Land, which was under Islamic rule. And that's this story. It's the story of the Christian invasion and then the eventual Islamic liberation of the Holy Land from the crusading Christians. Big book, again, I think it comes up to almost 700 pages, 681, I just saw. So hoping to read this in Historathon quarter two. Again, I'm from the Middle East, so the Crusades has a personal uh, uh, it's personal for me, but yeah, again, the Crusades, I think, needs to be studied more than it is, or should be read about more than it is, because it's the current state of Israel, very similar. Another fundamentalist religious movement that attempted or that achieved the invasion of the Holy Land and its colonization. So, looking forward to reading that, hopefully in quarter two of Historathon. For the next prompt is 700 to 799 pages. We're back to American history again. It's a TBR, but it's not set in stone. I've actually read this before. I don't know if I want to read it again for 2026. I've got other American history books I want to read, but this one is very well known. It was adapted into a movie. Actually, this copy I have is I guess it has parts of the movie and in the cover. It's by Doris Kearns Goodwin and its Team of Rivals. The subtitle is The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln. Again, big book. This is just the story of Lincoln's political genius. How this obscure, or self-taught man from the Midwest with very basic education rose to the presidency unexpectedly, and how he was able to outwit and outmaneuver his political rivals to reach the height of power. The others that he had to outwit were some of the most established, wealthy Americans, American politicians at the time. And what the genius of Lincoln was, after defeating them, he didn't shove them to the side. Instead, he brought them into his cabinet, and he sort of compromised with them. And then it says here, right there at the top, it says the book that inspired Barack Obama. Obama did something similar. He defeated Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and others when he won the presidency, but then he brought them. He put Biden as his vice president. He put Clinton as Secretary of State. He had plays for John Kerry, all that kind of stuff. So it was very influential. It became a movie. I think that's from that picture is from the movie. Steven Spielberg directed movie. What's the actor's name? Name escapes me. Whatever his name was, I think he won an Oscar for his portrayal. I'm not sure, although the movie, I was 50-50 about it. And this book won the Pulitzer Prize. I'm still trying to think of the name of the actor, but it escapes me. Anyway, we'll go on. So the next one is, again, yet more American history. Again, this is why I didn't want to do this about your TBR for 2026, because it's a little bit repetitive and not very diverse in subjects. Had I chosen anything from my library that fit these prompts, maybe it would have been a bit more interesting. But anyway, the next one is 800 to 899 pages. And I found this, not sure if I'll read it, maybe I will. It does fit my American History 250th Anniversary American Reading Challenge. It's by Paul Johnson, A History of the American People. Look how big this is, and it's heavy too. There's a hardback I found, really cheap. Yeah, it's just a history of America. Paul Johnson is a British author. He's a little bit on the neocon right-wing side, conservative side, very pro-American. pro-American conservative, British pro-American conservative. Yeah, just over 800 pages. So yeah, interesting to see. He's popular. His book Modern Times, which I have, it's a battered copy that I have. It's actually breaking apart. I need to find a replacement copy. And he's written a lot of other books, a lot of grand, big historical books. He's not an academic historian. He's much more of a popular historian. We'll see how good this is. Um, it's very big and it's very heavy, so I'm glad to put it down. But we're still not done yet. There's 900 to 999 pages. And then for this, again, I've read this. This is one of, I've had this book for ages. I read it when I first got it, which is very long time ago. Not sure if I want to reread it, but I was in a rush just to find books that read this prompt. It's more American history. It's actually biography. It's presidential biography. It's presidential autobiography. This is My Life by Bill Clinton. Good old Bubba, America's first black president. Bill Clinton. I think this book, when it came out, was derided by his political enemies, the Republicans. They wanted more juicy gossip. He was very vague about the whole Lewinsky affair. I don't know what else to say about Bill Clinton. Again, this book, it's huge. There's something I wanted to say, but I've forgotten. I really don't know what else to say except that it's his biography. Bill Clinton especially has kind of resurfaced in the news, not in the recent headlines, not in a good way. The whole Epstein, he was a close friend of Epstein. We know his predatory sexual preferences, or no, that's not correct, his sexual appetites, and his link with Epstein. I don't know. Nothing has been conclusively proved, but it's not a good look. It's not a good look, and it's definitely casting a cloud over his presidential legacy, because I don't know what Americans, I guess in a very toxic partisan atmosphere, maybe he divides opinion, but he was popular when he was elected and re-elected. I don't know if I'll reread this, but we'll see. And then the last one is 1000 to 1099 pages. For this, actually this book, I'm cheating here. I cheated in the first one. I'm cheating on this one, but it's not due to the page count. I could probably find an edition that fits into this page count. It really depends on the edition you have. And this is related to my Russian Lit 2026 reading project. The classic War and Peace, Leo Tolstoy. This is the Penguin popular classic. I'm sorry, I'm watching this. I'm seeing my screen is a little bit hazy, so I don't know how well that shows. But that's Napoleon on the cover, and then look at that. Look at the size of this thing. It's like it's bigger than a Big Mac. But yeah, War and Peace, Tolstoy's classic. This edition is 1,300 pages. So I'm cheating a little bit. I have another edition of War and Peace, which is 900 pages. So different edition, different font. So law of averages, I'm going to use this one. I hope to read this as part of my Russian Lit 2026 reading adventure. March is coming up. There's the famous March of the Mammoth book event on Booktube that's occurring in March. March is very quickly looming over the horizon. This could be a read in March. Not sure I'll finish this in March. Not sure I'll finish this in April. I might finish it in May or June of 2028 because it's so long, but that's my choice for the 1000 to 1099 pages. So yeah, those are the TBR. Again, I could have done this on random books in my library. That's what I initially did. Then I put all the books back and said, "Oh, it's for TBR for 2026." So I'm grateful I caught that, because then that would have been cheating. So I wanted to stick to the rules of the challenge. And yeah, with that, I'll wrap this up. Thank you for watching this. Thank you, JJ, for tagging me. What's left is for me to tag others. I don't know who Ian, the reader, the creator of this tag, tagged. I don't know. I don't recall. I watched JJ's original video a while ago. I've forgotten who she tagged. I know she tagged me. She probably tagged others, but I don't recall who exactly. I'm not gonna tag specific people, because this book is or this tag is very it can be done by anybody. So if you're watching this and you have a Booktube channel, consider yourself tagged. If you'd like to do it, go ahead and do it. Probably would have been better done earlier in January, but not necessarily. The month or the year is still early, so you can still do it if you want. It could be a TBR, it could be something you've already read, you can still show it. Or if you were going to do what I was going to do, you can just pick random books that fit these prompts, although that's not really following the strict rules of the tag, so maybe don't do that. Find your TBR, and I'm sure you have a book on each of these book page length books. But yeah, I'm going off now. I need to wrap this up because it's going long. Thank you again for watching this. Salute, Booktube.